Hello guys, thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be doing another Let's Look At. I'm going to be looking at Magma Tsunami. And as you can probably tell just from this image alone, it's a runner. But it came up on Steam for $1, so let's see if it's worth the $1 of entertainment. The first thing I'm going to go over is a very large annoyance for me. No settings menu, and if you don't like these controls, you're going to have to deal with it. If you're used to run being on B, like is in most video games, too bad, it's on X. Get over it. So, that's that, and this game is clearly from Unity as it boots up into the Unity launcher. Aside from choosing whether you want the game to be fastest running or look fantastic, you can't configure this game how it looks at all. You get to configure the resolution in the Unity launcher, and that is it. They did not put in the game for you to configure the frames per second, a resolution in the game, or a windowed mode in the game. That is all before the game is launched, which is a little silly. So, aside from those horrible ports, little bits, well, what I would assume is bad porting from a phone game, the game is pretty fun. Just I really wish there was an options menu in this list. Also, I will say, even though it supports the controller support is bad. Pressing anything on the D-pad doesn't move the menu, just the analog stick. There's a lot wrong with this. I would also like to point out it's incredibly easy to make menus in Unity and configure all of this. So this is just nothing but laziness. I'm going to say that aloud. So let's get into the actual gameplay. Let's just play as one player. I keep pressing on the D-pad and nothing happens. So, the game is pretty simple. Basically, you use the analog stick to go right or not move at all. You cannot go left. And you use the X key to decide if you want to sprint. So you're basically just managing how much of the screen you can see versus how close you are to the lava. So you're just trying to find a balance there. The game is randomly generated, but it seems the levels are generated from a small subset of possibilities. That means that, basically, if you play this game for a very long time, it is eventually going to get repetitive, but considering this is just a $1 game on Steam, or your regional equivalent, I think that's fine. Also, as you can see, I just got a bit of a hazard there, where I slipped on some ice cream, which seemed a little pointless, as I could still run and jump, so that's a little awkward. So, basically you're just trying to get as far as you can, and then you retry. As far as I can tell, there are no levels, which is a disappointment in such a small game. You would kind of expect to unlock areas. Even if it's just a color palette swap, you can go between different areas to add that little bit of variety these kinds of games need, but that is not here, sadly. If you touch any of the animals in the game, like these birds, you will die. And the screen isn't zoomed out enough for you to be able to tell if they're coming very well, which is usually a bit of a bad thing you see in games that are mobile ports or clearly designed for the phone, as this game could be easily zoomed out quite a lot and still be perfectly comfortable. In fact, it would actually be a lot more comfortable to play this kind of game if it was just a bit more zoomed out on the PC. It's just very zoomed in. Sort of how you'll see, as an example, when games are ported from consoles, they often have enormous UI on the PC because people are playing their games on their TV, which are a lot further away from you. Like Dark Souls being a good example, where in Dark Souls 1 and 2 as well actually, by default the HUD was enormous. Just the area in the bottom left with all your items is enormous. It's just a bit of bad porting, but it's fine. And now finally I've gotten far enough to have you hear the music change, which is a good change of pace as the music gets a little old pretty quickly, and the music is nothing to write home about. Even the sounds there as the level start is not very good. But again, this game is $1, and honestly, if you want to have a little bit of fun for a moment, you should go ahead and play this with someone, though I will say this is local co-op only, so if you have a friend that you want to play this with, that is not in your house, you're a little boned. Also, that bird clearly came out of the ground there, but oh well. And I'd also like to point out, here's a really good example of why the game needs to be zoomed out. You can't very clearly see where you're going in advance. You just kind of have to pick a path when things branch as they did a moment ago. And if you chose the wrong one, there's a very, very tiny amount of time that you have to correct yourself by going back. Which is just bad. It is not good design there. This game also has no sliding or any sort of thing like that. Just add a little bit extra maneuverability when you're jumping between things. As you can see, there was a sign there warning me about a UFO. And there was no possible way that I would have been able to see that UFO coming in time to dodge it. I think that's going to wrap up the video. The game is alright if you just want to dig around for your dollar's worth, but they didn't put very much effort into this. How much time would it have taken you to just make it accept the D-pad as well, add an option menu to change the resolution in game, which Unity very easily allows, by the way, and just even frame rate options, because in games like this, where you're very quickly moving to the side, the background is incredibly blurry due to the low amount of frames per second, being very incapable of catching very quick movement. I was able to change it through NVIDIA Control Panel, and the game worked fine, which is a good sign. The physics didn't speed up or anything, but no native support, so hooey. But thanks for checking out the video, and there'll be a new one soon. Thank you.